Our changemakers are doing invaluable service to the society by preserving and promoting rich heritage of Indian classical music through their dedication and innovations. Our next changemaker is Vidya Subramanian from Chennai, a chartered accountant and MBA by training. Vidya found her calling in the world of Indian classical music. Vidya is a Carnatic vocalist and founder of Vidya Subramanian Academy, an online portal that has been imparting training in traditional Indian arts to students from all over the world for over a decade. At the academy, Vidya and her team of teachers train students in Carnatic music, both vocal and instrumental, Hindustani music, Bharatnatyam, shlokas and chants, languages and more. Vidya has successfully leveraged her in-depth knowledge of music and her business training to adapt traditional Carnatic music pedagogy to suit an online, culturally diverse student group. Vidya Subramanian Academy brings together the best of India's traditional Guru Shishya tradition while harnessing professional teaching methods by continuing to rely on one-on-one learning setting in the online environment. Vidya's exemplary work has brought her many laurels, including from Niti Aayog, Kalai Mamani Award, among others.
In today's age, like you aptly said, there are a lot of influences on youth when it comes to arts. Indian classical music continues to grow and thrive in this society today. It does occupy a rather niche position in the sense that the number of people who are actively engaged either as performers or audiences is somewhat limited, and over time I think our goal as a nation is to increase the footprint of our traditional art form, and it's a great way for our youth to appreciate the uniqueness of our musical heritage, because Indian classical music, both the Hindustani as well as the Carnatic art forms, have a very distinctive style which sets them apart from other classical traditions. And I think our work should be in taking that tradition forward to the next generation. As a Carnatic musician and as a lifelong student of the art form, one of the things I realized is that our artistic tradition has a very unique pedagogy that cannot be very easily replicated in a very modular or a standardized format. The best way to learn Carnatic music or any Indian fine art form is to learn from an accomplished guru, and it does take many years of dedicated learning before the student really reaches a good level of knowledge. And how do we take that kind of a very customized learning to the modern era? And that's what got me thinking, because when I studied online learning, I found that there were a lot of people who were trying to teach online. Either they were trying to make it a very standardized modular approach, or they were unable or unwilling to change or adapt the teaching methods to suit an online environment. And basically my work over the last decade and a half has focused exactly on that. How do we retain the strengths of our core teaching methods when it comes to classical art forms, while using the internet as a medium to reach out to a lot more people? One thing I noted is that there was an abundance of talented artists all across the country who were highly skilled, but many of them did not have access to opportunities wherein they can showcase those skills either as performers or as teachers. So one thing I have tried to do through my platform is to bring together such under-recognized artists and create opportunities for them, especially for women artists. I found that when you give women work from home opportunities and a lot of flexibility in terms of the workspace and timings, they actually flower to their fullest potential. And that's something I have personally witnessed, the transformation over the last decade and a half, not only in the women that I work with, but in their entire families. And we provide them with an opportunity to engage with students from all across India and across the world. And coming to the second aspect, the students, I'm very, very happy and proud to say that we have students from over 30 countries learning with us. And also, we have several students from not only the metros in India, but also the tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India. That's been something which has been a personal eye opener to me. In the post COVID scenario, I think a lot more Indian students and parents are comfortable with the idea of digital learning, and they are turning to platforms like ours to learn and develop their interests in our traditional art forms. And the other thing I would like to also mention is that when it comes to a customized learning environment, there is really no limit on what the student can learn. If we start thinking about more about building an audience base, making it exciting for a youngster to actually attend a classical performance, we will start getting a more diverse audience base. And that again ties into my whole mission of teaching everybody and making every student feel welcome, irrespective of their age or learning level. Because when a student is encouraged by the guru to learn and approach the art form as a personal journey, we are more likely to stay on and learn for many years, and we are more likely to develop a lifelong love for the art form. Good morning, everybody. I know all of you are in class 10, right? So I promise you, I will do my best to make sure the speech is not boring, and we will keep it interactive. So if you can all respond with questions and suggestions as we go along, it will make it more engaging for all of us. So as mentioned in the introduction, my name is Vidya Subramanian. I run an online school where we teach various Indian traditional art forms like Carnatic music, Hindustani music, Bharatanatyam, yoga. We teach sloka chanting, languages, and so on. And one of the things we try to do in my academy is to provide opportunities for artists, that is to teach from home. So ours is completely an online model. I know that after COVID it's become very common. How many of you attend some online class? It could be your tuitions or any other thing, chess coaching. Does anybody do any kind of online classes here? Just raise your hand. Okay, that's interesting. Not many people are into online, but we have a lot of online tutoring and things which have caught on a lot after COVID. Now, this is something I started maybe 20 years ago, long before online learning was very common. And what we do is we provide individual classes so that everybody can learn. So we have students as young as 4 years. We also have students who are 80 years old. So it is difficult to form batches when we have such diversity, and we have also students from many countries. Some of them are of Indian background, some of them are foreigners. So we try to keep the classes interesting for every student in a customized way. So that's what we do, and we also provide job opportunities to teachers, especially women who are skilled in any of these classes we offer. Now coming to all of you, right? How many of you have decided what group you're going to take in class 11? You're sure that you're going to take science? Raise your hands. Okay, a rather small number I should say. Commerce, how many of you? You also have humanities or anything here, or? Okay, science and commerce. Undecided, not sure. So if you're neither science or commerce, the rest of the hands are all undecided, right? You're not sure what you want to do. And how many of you have been told that this is the most crucial year where you have to decide where you have? Okay, let me tell you, I personally think that that is fake news. Okay, so I mean your teachers may not agree with me, but I think life is a journey. Okay, so even if you choose commerce in 11th or science, and then after a few years you realize that okay, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, absolutely nothing to regret. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my story. So when I have been learning music and singing from a very young age, maybe since I was in LKG or something like that, and I chose commerce in 11th. I did my CA, then I went to the US, I did an MBA there. But when I did my CA, halfway through when I finished the intermediate, I felt I didn't really like what I was doing. I was not enjoying my studies very much, and I didn't want to be a chartered accountant in practice or in employment. But since I was already there, right, I finished intermediate, I decided, okay, let me study hard and finish the final exam also. So I completed the final exam with a rank. And then I started, when I did my MBA, I started thinking what I wanted to do next. Again, I was not very sure because I was already doing finance. I took up a couple of corporate jobs, but I was not really thrilled with anything I was doing. I was doing fairly well. I had a good job. First I worked in California, then in New York. I had a lot of exposure, general exposure, but I felt it was not really what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. At the same time, I also wanted to sing, to perform, but then again, I didn't really look at myself as a performing artist person. So I had all these doubts. So I was probably around 25 when I started teaching music, and that's when I felt, okay, this is something where I can make a difference. I can make it fun, interesting in a different way, because typically how many of you have gone to any kind of dance or music, classical arts classes? Okay, good, a good number. That's nice to see. So many times when students go for these classes, again, I'm not being critical, but it's done in a very serious way. And as a result, a lot of students may not really feel very excited compared to, say, listening to some more popular music or popular like film music or dance. They may feel, oh, this is very serious. I don't think I want to do it. They may do it for a few years because the parents push them, but after they grow older or come to high school, a lot of students drop out because of lack of time or lack of interest. So I started thinking, why don't we make our classes cool and interesting? And when I say cool and interesting, doesn't mean I have to start singing some silly songs or change what is being taught, but just make it a more engaging environment, make it more interactive, let the students come up with their own ideas. Like for one thing we do is when we teach a song, we ask our students to do some research work, some presentation about the composer or something like that, so that it becomes a holistic activity for the children. And when I started doing that, I found that the results were really good. Like more students approached me from different parts of the US. I was living in the US at that time. And then slowly from many other countries, and I started building a team of teachers because I could not teach every student personally because of the time constraints, and therefore I started slowly, organically growing my venture. Now again, initially I was not really thinking of making it like an organization or a venture, but over time, when I realized that there was a lot of interest and lot of demand, I started doing it. And I also realized that it gave a lot of opportunities for not only the teachers but also students, because many times, especially for adults, right, when they are like 40 or 50 years old, they feel a bit shy to start singing because they are not sure if they will sound bad. And if you go to a local class, maybe if the person is 40 years old starting as a beginner, he or she may be asked to attend the class with a 6 or 7-year-old child, and many times the child will sing better because children like you are very smart compared to us. We are all older, our brains work slower. So many adults feel shy to actually go and start learning an art form at that age, but they may actually have the interest. So when they do it online, right, they do it one-on-one with the teacher, so they are more comfortable and relaxed. And similarly for students of your age, I find many of them, when they go to high school, you start becoming busy with your board exams or other coaching classes. You may not really have the time to attend a music class or a dance class or a yoga class. So when you do it online, you can do it from your home. So again, we can reach out to a lot more people. And then we also put out a lot of free videos, because there will be people who cannot afford arts classes, because end of the day, if the family is on a limited budget, this is not something that they would necessarily prioritize. So we started putting out a lot of free videos, and we got really good feedback that many people were benefiting from these educational content. And again, we also cater to a lot of special needs students. Do you know what special needs students are? Yeah, does anybody want to explain to me in your own words? Yeah, differently abled, or they may have some kind of a special requirement or adaptation that is needed. So we can cater to a lot more such people. For example, if a person is visually handicapped, it is more challenging for them to actually commute to a class. So if we can take the class to their homes, then they will be able to learn with more comfort and convenience from their home. So these are all some things that I found were benefits of an online model, and that is how I started expanding. Now let us talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. Can anybody volunteer and tell me what you know about entrepreneurship? Just explain the meaning of the word. It is absolutely fine if your meaning or your interpretation is not correct. Just give it a shot, try. I want all of you to open up, feel more comfortable volunteering answers. Anybody? Just raise your hand. Yes. Yeah, you can stand. Yeah, maybe you can stand. Yeah, sure. Yeah, introduce yourself and just tell me what you know about entrepreneurship.
Hello, my name is Abhishek Kanna. So, what I know about entrepreneurship is basically it's when you start something of an idea, technically an idea of your own, and become successful with it. Well, some people still aren't successful, but when an idea that you have becomes successful and you start making money or income out of it by any idea that you made, is called entrepreneurship.
Thank you. That was an excellent answer. Please give a round of applause to your friend. Not only for the good answer, but for opening up and sharing his ideas with us. So entrepreneurship, I'll tell you in simple way, is business. Okay. Many of you may have parents who are business people. It can be anything, starting a shop, starting a school, starting a service business. So you can have many types of businesses. So the concept of entrepreneurship is basically instead of you taking up a job and getting a fixed salary, you give jobs to other people. Okay. So when you go for employment means taking up a salaried position. Okay. So let's say you work for a software company, or you work as a doctor in a hospital, or you work in some other services company or anything like that, or a teacher in a school. So that is employment, where you get paid a fixed amount every month and you are given a set of duties to do. Okay, that is absolutely a wonderful way to engage yourself after you all complete your studies. But maybe some of you after a few years of working, or even after your graduation, may want to do something creative. Maybe you have an idea for a new product or a new service, and it does not even need to be some new invention. It could be an interesting way of packaging or delivering something that is already out there, and if there is demand for it, you can create a business out of it, and that is what is known as entrepreneurship. And the beauty of having your own business is that, one, it is very flexible. Okay, you can grow it as much as you want, or you can scale it up. You can become like an international business person, or somebody may say, okay, I can only devote 4 hours a day for my business, so I will grow it in a small way, in a slow way. So there is a lot of flexibility about the number of hours you put in every day, how you grow your business, what vision you have for it. So, and also, like I said, if you are successful, you can create jobs for 100 people or 1,000 people, right? And that is something that is very, very needed in a country like India, because we have the largest population, right? So many people are there. We have lakhs and lakhs of graduates who are coming out of our colleges, and many of them struggle to find employment. So instead of becoming an employee, if you become an employer, isn't that exciting? Like, you can create jobs for your friends, for people who are juniors to you, or even sometimes you can employ people who are more experienced. I have teachers in my team who are more experienced than me, but they are happy to work with me because I have given them a flexible work environment where they work from home and they share their skills with a very large set of students across the world. So the reason I'm talking about entrepreneurship today is I want you all to start thinking about it. What do you like to do? What kind of a business would you like to create? You need not create a business today, or even, in 5 or 10 years. But if you start thinking, something with your education blended with your skills could give exciting opportunities. For example, how many of you are into sports? Cricket, basketball, tennis, any sports? Swimming. Okay, what about the girls? Girls are not too much into sports? Okay, so some of you are into sports, right? How many of you like painting, writing, blogging? Okay, good. How many of you like debating? Excellent. Okay, so I can see that you are a very diverse group of students, right? So let us say one person who likes to debate, right? So get up and introduce yourself. Yeah, if you can give him the mic. No, I think that the boy in the third row. Yeah, who was the one who wanted to? Yeah. So what do you think you want to become? What group are you planning to take? Anything. Well, I mean, I won't hold you to it. If you change your mind, it's fine.
Computer science.
Okay, so you want to do computer science and you said you are interested in debating, right? So maybe, and your name please? Rehan. Maybe 20 years down the line, he will come up with a great business idea which will combine the two, right? You may be a computer scientist. You may have learned or practiced your debating skills really well. Maybe you will come up with some cool product or venture that combines the two skills. What do you think, Rehan? Won't that be interesting? You have a job in computer science, but you can actually do something about debating, right? So I want you all to start thinking about what your passions are, because that is how I have been able to navigate my personal journey. I love music, but I ended up becoming a chartered accountant and an MBA. So I started thinking, how can I create a business which combines my knowledge of music with my business skills? So the takeaway for all of you is whatever you decide to study, and sometimes you may be influenced by what your parents do or how they guide you. Like my parents are both chartered accountants, so I blindly followed them without really thinking much about it. Nowadays I know students are much better informed about career choices, which is excellent, but still maybe you are still not too sure what you want to do and you are just guided by what your family members tell you. But it doesn't mean that you should only stick on to that. You can still continue to explore your personal interests and come up with some creative way in which you can make that into a business. And that I think is a great way for you to start thinking about. I think the mic. Yeah, help. So I would like you to all to start thinking about it, and also even if you meet with some failure, because one thing about businesses is that there is no guaranteed income, right? When you work in a job, one thing you get is a fixed income. You know how much your money for that month is going to be. It is relatively well defined, and if you do really well, they may give you a bonus and all that. But when you work in a business, there are a lot of factors which are even outside your control. Like for example, we had the COVID pandemic, or somebody's business may be affected by floods during the cyclone, so all their goods could be damaged. So there are much more risks. So when I talk about entrepreneurship, I am the first person to acknowledge that it is also a risky path. So what many people do is they work for a few years, they gain some experience, they also gain some savings for themselves, so that in case the business does not turn out well, they have something to fall back on. Or sometimes they are able to convince other people to invest. Have you heard of the term venture capitalist? Yeah, can somebody, one of the girls, do you want to tell us? Anyone from the girls section? Investor, or let's keep it simple. Can somebody, one of the girls, volunteer? Yeah, that girl in the last row, can you please give her the mic? Introduce yourself and tell us what an investor does.
So I'm Kyle. So basically, in my understanding, what an investor is, a person who trusts a startup or a business which is now trying, which is growing, which is on process, and invest their money. They give their money to the development of the startup or the business and help with the finance and help the business grow.
Wonderful. Please give Kyle a round of applause. explained very nicely. So an investor is a person, it can be a person, it can be a company, it can be a consortium or a group of people who have surplus money, and not everybody wants to start the businesses by themselves. So let us say I have, I don't know, 10 lakhs extra money, okay, and somebody comes to me with a very nice idea of a business, okay, maybe a new kind of a software that will help children learn physics, something like that, and I am very impressed with the idea. Then I may say, you know, I'll give you 10 lakhs, you start the business, and then you give me a certain share of the profit. So some business people get funded like that through investors, okay. Some people may have their own savings from which they fund themselves, and as they grow, they will get more profits out of it. So what is the risk in a business? Instead of making profits, you may make a loss in a given year, right? You may not have anything to take home. So business people need to think about that. How do they minimize the chances of earning a loss? Does anybody have any idea? How, like in a general way, let us say you are a business person. What are some of the things you can do to make sure that you don't make a loss? Or you can never be sure, but to minimize the chance of making a loss. Any new person, he wants to say, but if there's somebody else. Okay, you can go ahead. Maybe some new people who have not answered can go after him. Need the mic? Who's having the mic? Okay, you had something to say too, right? Yeah, you can say and then give it to him.
So to minimize loss, it is very important to understand the customer needs and preferences, and to update the business, which is what I'm trying to say, to update and to adapt to the customer needs and preferences.
Fantastic. So I'll tell you from my own example. So after him, you can take it. So we were doing this online teaching, right? So when I started 20 years ago, there were only like 1 or 2 schools which were offering Carnatic music classes. Then what happened during the pandemic was that everybody was forced to sit at home. So a lot of artists started offering online classes, which is great because more people are coming and using the opportunity to teach and learn. But for me personally, that was a challenge because earlier it used to be very easy to get students. Now the competition has increased, and like she beautifully said, I have to think about reorienting my strategies. So we started using social media more. Before that I would say, oh, Insta is only for kids or young people, I don't really relate to it. But then I realized unless I adapt to the preferences of my customers, I'm not going to get youngsters to join my academy. So we started using Instagram more. We started putting out some interesting shots on YouTube, so that like quizzes and questions about music, so that more people, a younger audience will engage with us. So as she said, a business person needs to constantly innovate and adapt to the changing environment and changing market. Yes, you can go ahead and share your point.
Actually, there's something called the trial and error method, which I learned from my uncle. So basically, you start with the errors first actually. You first test the product out yourself to see if it fits your needs for customer, like she said, and after that you set out like a small batch to see if it's gaining popularity or like being sold out. Then only you go with a higher amount and make more profit, like that.
That's an excellent point. So if you have a business idea, right, many times one of the reasons the business fails is that the person who starts the business is very excited about his or her product or service idea, but the customer is not really excited about it. So if you come up with some cool product, okay, you need to make sure that other people have a need for it. You also need to make sure that you price it right, because if you think, okay, this particular new product I have created is worth 1 lakh, maybe people cannot afford to pay more than 10,000 rupees for it or 5,000 rupees for it. Or maybe there are similar products, even if yours is better, if there are similar products which are priced much, much lower, people may still think his product or her product is better, but when I can get something which is nearly as good for a fraction of the price, why should I pay 1 lakh to get? So as he very rightly said, we need to study the market. Many times people do surveys, they do test pilot studies on their friends and family, and then refine the product. Okay, when you get feedback, you have to be very open. You may love your product or your service, but maybe people will tell you what it lacks, and a good business person has to be willing to listen to the voice of the customer. That is called voice of the customer. When the common person tells you that there are some flaws in what you are offering, you should be ready to adapt the offering to suit the voice of the customer. Yes, there was one more person here. Yeah, please give her the mic. Introduce yourself.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Harini.
Hi, Harini.
I have actually 2 points. So the first thing is that we can use social media, as you told, because today's generation's technology could definitely help us in ameliorating our business. And the second point is that if we are in need of laborers, we can appoint people who are less prioritized, and we can give new opportunities for them.
Fantastic. So Harini made a very good point, and that actually leads me to the next point I wanted to talk about. Like people who have less opportunities, if we can create opportunities for them, right, then your business may takes more meaning, and that gives me the brings me to the topic of social entrepreneurship. Ma'am, can I go on for 5 more minutes? So social entrepreneurship. So we saw what entrepreneurship is, basically creating a business. And normally when we think of business, what do we think of? Profit, right? So nothing wrong in looking at business as a way to earn money. Absolutely fine. At the other end of the spectrum, we have non-profit organizations which are completely service oriented, right? Which maybe they provide free education to underprivileged, maybe they help with rehabilitation of displaced people, or if there is a natural calamity, they go and they help the people or rescue the people. Though we need such organizations as well. We also need these corporate organizations because they are huge. They provide employment to thousands and thousands of people. They work across so many countries. But in India, there is a need for what we call as social entrepreneurship, where there is a business, it makes profit, but the main goal of the business is not necessarily profit. The main goal here is to make an impact. So my venture is a social venture, which means I do earn from it, I do make a profit, because I come from a regular middle class background. So I can't say, okay, I'm going to give everything for free and I'm going to sit and watch, because I need to also make some earnings from it, save some money from it. I need to help, with my children's education, everything. I have my own commitments. At the same time, I am not really interested in only maximizing my profit. I want to create a larger impact, make new people learn our art forms, provide opportunities, like she said, to teachers. Like we even have teachers who are from small towns, and we help them with English communication, we help them with computer skills. Somebody could be a very good Tamil teacher, but if she's going to teach a student who doesn't speak Tamil, right, she also needs to be comfortable communicating in English. So we identify such skilled teachers, we upskill them, we give them more training, and then we place students with them. So that way we are able to create an impact, because I try to keep my costs very low. Like I don't spend anything on paid advertising, for example, because advertising costs a lot of money. So I just put out some social media posts, I put out educational posts, and I get students that way, so I can save on advertising. And likewise, because everybody in my team works from home, there is no rent to pay. There is no time spent on commuting. So there are advantages like this which draws a lot of teachers to join my team. And as they earn money, as they are able to share the skills from their home, they introduce more teachers. And likewise with the students also, when somebody joins and they find our classes very interesting, very affordable, they will refer new people, their friends and family, and that is how we benefit. So over time, when you have a social enterprise, you are going to make an income from it. Maybe it will be a bit less than a corporate style or a profit maximizing enterprise, but at the same time you're going to have a wonderful thing that you're going to do, which is really impact driven. And that is very, very important for India especially, because it's been about 75 years after independence. We are now looking to become a developed country, right? Our goal is to become a developed nation by 2047. So what we need to do is we need to create a lot of social enterprises which can identify gaps in what we are offering, what our country has to offer, and provide impactful delivery of those gaps, so that a lot of employment is created and a lot of people are also benefited. So that is what is known as a social enterprise. So with that thought, I would like to conclude my talk today. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 questions. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Principal Ma'am. Any questions? And you have all been a very good and engaged audience. So I wanted to thank you all for your patient listening, and I wish you the very best. Yeah.
Come away from the fan and ask.
I quitted actually classical music when I was 10 years, ma'am. But now I feel like continuing it. So shall I join your class?
Absolutely. Most welcome. Most welcome.
This model has become better.
See, that is one thing, right? When you do outreach, you'll get new students, right? So you can look at my website, vidyasubramanian.com. Okay, and we also have, like I said, even some of you may not be interested in learning to sing right now. You may think, okay, I listen to classical music, it's not very exciting. But do look at our YouTube channel. We have put out a lot of informative videos about how to appreciate. Like, month of December is coming up, right? Chennai has one of the largest concert festivals, right? Margazhi Festival. How many of you have attended any concert, music, dance, even drama? Okay, not bad. A good amount has attended. So do attend and encourage artists. And those who have never attended, maybe this time you can make a resolution to attend at least one performance with your family. And there are many free performances. You don't even need to buy tickets, especially in the afternoons, right? We have a lot of youngsters. People even in your age group may be performing. Seek out, and like I said, I have also put out a lot of educational videos. So when you have spare time, that's one thing as youngsters. I mean, I don't want to get into that advising mode and bore you, but instead of browsing and doing something that is not always, constructive, if you have some downtime, the internet is an amazing resource, right? Use your downtime to learn something. Maybe also be creative. Maybe you start a blog and write some poems, write some. That is excellent. Actually, I don't know if teachers will like it if I say that, but don't stop blogging just because you're in 10th standard. And like Harini was saying, right, like if you want to start learning an art form, it is definitely not late, and it will not impact your studies in a bad way. Many times parents tell me, ma'am, my child is now in 10th standard or 12th standard, board exam is coming, I'll stop the party class. I'll tell them that's the biggest mistake you're making, because when you learn an art form, your brain is actually going to become sharper. It's not like anybody is going to study 24 hours a day. All of us will get tired. And at that time, instead of watching a movie, if you're actually doing something like a classical music or painting, it's going to help you perform better in your studies. So with that, I would conclude my talk today. I would also like to thank the Champions of Chennai team for organizing this Champions talk. Mr. Rao has been a great facilitator. Actually, he has sent me a very, very nice saying. I'll conclude with that. Especially since you're all in pivotal 10th standard where you'll be choosing your group, right? If you don't know what to pursue right now, pursue yourself. Pursue becoming the healthiest, happiest, most healed, most present, most confident version of yourself. Then the right path will reveal itself. So that is a very nice thing that Mr. Rao shared with me, that I will share with all of you today. Thank you.